I'd waited 8 years for him to ask. And when he finally did, it was perfect. We were standing under a canopy of autumn leaves, the ring box shaking in his hand, tears running down my cheeks before I could even say yes. I was 27, not young enough to be swept up in fairy tales, but young enough to still believe in one. And I believed, God, I believed. Planning the wedding was slow, not because we didn't want it, but because my health kept getting in the way. A diagnosis, then remission. Another scare, then recovery. My body was constantly negotiating with death, but I was determined to walk down that aisle before it claimed anything else from me. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video. I bought the dress early. Ivory silk, hand-stitched lace. It had taken me 3 months of saving and trying on second-hand rejects before I found it. And when I did, I didn't cry, until I turned around in the mirror and saw myself smiling for the first time in a year. It wasn't just a dress. It was the promise that I'd make it to the altar, that I'd still have my moment. My mom didn't come to that appointment. Neither did my sister Hallie. She had said, "It's just a dress, not the actual wedding. Don't be so dramatic." But I didn't mind. I had gotten used to showing myself the excitement no one else gave me. I kept the dress in my tiny apartment, far from their eyes. I didn't trust them with joy. 3 months before the wedding, I collapsed in the shower. By the time I opened my eyes, I was in a hospital bed hooked to machines, stage 4. This time, it wasn't just a scare. It was real, aggressive, unforgiving. My fiancé clutched my hand like it was made of glass. He didn't leave, not then. But my family? They barely showed up. Mom came once with supermarket flowers and the scent of disappointment. "You should have rested instead of planning weddings," she said, placing the bouquet on the tray table like it was a reminder of everything I was losing. Hallie didn't come at all. She texted, "Tell me when you're better. Sick energy ruins my mood." Each day bled into the next. Tubes, silence, hope shriveling like my veins. Until one day my phone buzzed. A photo, Hallie, in my dress, smiling, posing. The train of the gown spread across the carpet of our childhood living room like it belonged to her. I stared at it for so long the nurse thought I'd passed out again. Then the second photo came, a close-up, her hand grazing the neckline, her mouth in a half-smirk, my mother in the background holding a glass of wine. The caption read, "At least someone wore it beautifully. I couldn't breathe, not from the disease, but from the rage, from the betrayal, from the agony of watching them strip away the last thing I had held onto, the image of myself walking, alive, proud, into a life they never believed I deserved." I stared at that photo for hours, not crying, not screaming, just still, like my body knew that another part of me had died, and yet my soul whispered back something I hadn't felt in weeks, not grief, not loss, but fire. Because if I ever walked out of that hospital alive, they wouldn't recognize the woman coming back, not in that dress. Not ever again. I didn't speak to anyone for days. The nurses thought the silence was part of my decline, but it wasn't. It was control, the only kind I had left. I turned off read receipts, blocked Hallie, muted my mother. My fiancé, Carter, kept coming in with smoothies and hope and late-night books he tried to read aloud to me. I pretended to listen. I wanted to. I just couldn't hear anything over the sound of her laughing in my dress. Then one evening, 2 weeks after the photo, Carter sat down gently on the edge of the hospital bed, avoiding the IV line taped to my arm. He looked tired. His eyes were red. "I need to tell you something," he said slowly, like he was trying not to break me. I nodded, bracing. "I saw the pictures." Of course he did. My mother had posted them on Facebook. Our Hallie playing dress-up. She deserves all the beauty in the world. People had commented, "She looks stunning," not even realizing that it wasn't hers, that it was mine, that I was lying in a hospital bed while they giggled about how perfect she looked. But that wasn't what Carter meant. He hesitated, swallowed, then said it anyway. "She wore it to her engagement party. last night. I blinked. What? She's engaged, he said. To Ryan. Ryan, his best friend, the one who had helped Carter plan my proposal, the one who used to flirt with Hallie as a joke, the one who had said at Thanksgiving, "You're lucky to have a woman like her, bro." She wore your dress, as a joke, said it fit better on her anyway. She said, you wouldn't need it anymore. I don't know what hurt more, the fact that they said it, or the fact that Carter looked like he believed it. Something inside me snapped. I wasn't dead. I wasn't done. I wasn't disposable. The next day, I asked for the mirror. I looked at my face, pale, sunken, not what it used to be. And still, I whispered, "You're still here." And if I was still here, I wasn't going to rot in this bed while Hallie twirled in the last piece of joy I ever bought for myself. I started eating again, slowly, quietly, without telling anyone, just enough to keep my body from giving out. I started walking laps in the hallway when the nurses weren't watching. I made up reasons to get out of bed. I Googled my own diagnosis until I knew it better than the doctors. I stopped waiting for someone to save me. I was going to save myself, but not just for me. I was going to make them feel what they made me feel, not through drama, not through shouting, but through silence, strategy, and something they'd never expect. I didn't tell Carter when I discharged myself. Early. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. I had one friend left, not a sister, not a parent, but a college roommate named Tara, who once held my hair when I threw up during chemo. She opened her door without asking why I was there, just said, "Whatever you need, you have it." I needed a few things. First, time. Second, quiet. Third, a plan. I went to a thrift store and found an old wedding dress. Not mine, but a broken version of it. I cut it apart, restitched it, turned it into something new, something sharp, something that didn't weep when people left, something that looked back. Then I made a list. I knew Hallie's wedding date. Mom had posted it in her bio. Mother of the bride, September 15th. As if I'd never existed. I had 3 months. 3 months to rebuild. 3 months to rise. 3 months to ruin their illusion. Because they thought I was dying. But I was becoming something much more terrifying to them. Someone they couldn't control. Someone who didn't beg. Someone they'd regret turning their back on. And when I showed up again, it wouldn't be for a hug. September 15th came like a funeral in reverse. I hadn't posted on social media in months, hadn't answered a single message, hadn't even whispered a word to Carter. Not when he tried to call. Not even when he messaged Tara asking where I was. I knew he didn't mean to be weak. But weakness is what let Hallie step over my body in the first place. Tara helped me get dressed that morning. The new dress I'd stitched from pain. Ivory satin. A little raw at the seams. No lace. No veil. Just edge. "You look like a warning," Tara whispered. "Good," I said. They thought I'd be a ghost. Let's haunt them properly. The venue was a rented lakeside estate. White chairs, fake flowers, and Mom's laugh echoing all the way to the gravel path as I walked in. I didn't come through the front. I came through the kitchen, like I always used to. Like a servant. I moved through the building, unnoticed, invisible again, but only for a moment. Until I opened the ballroom doors. Until silence hit the room like a slap. Because I didn't look sick anymore. I didn't look broken. I didn't even look angry. I looked intentional. Mom dropped her champagne glass. Hallie stood at the center of the room in my dress again, still smug, still trying to be me. But beside her now stood Ryan, and beside him, my fiancé, Carter, standing behind them, holding the rings. I walked straight down the aisle between the chairs, slow, deliberate, like I was being walked down by ghosts. Every guest stared. Most didn't recognize me. Some gasped. Someone whispered, "Isn't that the sister?" Mom hissed, "What is she doing here?" I stopped 5 feet in front of Hallie. I looked her up and down. "Did you forget to return my dress?" I asked, flat. She blinked, trying to smile. "It was just symbolic, babe. You weren't gonna use it." Ryan chuckled beside her. She's kidding, right? Carter didn't laugh. Carter stared. Then I reached into my bag and pulled out a folded stack of envelopes, one for each. Hallie, Mom, Dad, Carter. Before I died, I said softly, I made a few arrangements. I wanted to leave something behind, but I didn't die, so now I get to deliver it in person. I handed the envelopes to them one by one. Mom didn't even open hers right away. She was too busy whispering to Dad, she's ruining this. But Carter, he opened his first. His hands shook. His lips parted as he read the paper inside. Then he looked up. You signed over the condo? Correct, I said. To your name. Everyone murmured. But why? Because I know how much Hallie wanted it. How hard she worked, stealing what was never hers. He blinked. So you're just giving it away? To you, I said. Not her. Just like she took my dress, she can wear it. But she'll never own it. Because it's yours now, and when she finds out the mortgage debt that comes with it, let's just say she'll finally know what it feels like to carry something heavy. Hallie's smile cracked. Wait, what are you— Mom, I said, turning. She tore open her envelope and gasped. You reported us? No, I released you. From ever having to acknowledge me again. That's a legal notice. I'm no longer claiming inheritance rights. I'm no longer your daughter on paper. Which means when people ask about me, you'll have to lie. Or admit you sold your soul for matching dresses and a prettier daughter. Then I looked at Carter. You didn't cheat, I said. Not exactly. But you didn't stop her either. You helped her zip up my dress. You drove her to try it on. You stood by while she posted those pictures. That makes you complicit. So I gave you the condo, and I also gave Ryan this— Ryan opened his envelope, his face twisted. You're suing me? He barked. For stealing intellectual property, I said. That proposal plan? The one you used for Hallie? I wrote every line of it. Ask Carter. It was in my journal. Carter stepped back slowly, like he didn't want to be near either of them anymore. The room had gone completely quiet. I smiled, just a little. Hallie, I said finally, you once said I didn't wear the dress beautifully enough, that no one remembered me in it. But they will now. And then, just before I walked away, I pulled a thumb drive from my clutch. This, I said, has every picture of me in that dress. Real pictures, from when it still had meaning. I'm posting it online tonight, alongside every photo of you mocking it. She laughed. No one will care. I stepped closer. Maybe not, but they'll remember one thing, that I rose from the hospital bed you buried me in and walked out of your wedding standing taller than you ever could. I left the venue to a trail of whispers and stunned silence. I didn't look back, not even when Mom screamed my name, not even when Hallie threw the bouquet down and stormed after Ryan, not even when Carter finally yelled, she deserved better than all of us. I got into Tara's car and drove away, not as a bride, not as a daughter, but as something far stronger, a woman who was supposed to die but chose to reclaim her story. And this time, no one would rewrite it but me. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video.